Watch this.
Welcome to the 208 on your Friday. I'm Joe Paris. We have a lot to get to, but something we want to get to first here is some severe weather that's popping up around the southern part of our state. So let's turn right now to start off the 208 to Rick Lance. And Rick, you and I were talking in the break. There's a lot of excitement out there.
Well, there really is. In fact, just to let you know that this, of course, is the third night, and it started out in Malheur County. Then it was in our area for Canyon as well as Ada and Elmore County. And now tonight it's kind of to the east of us. But here's the interesting thing to point out. You see this entire pink area through here? Okay, that is a severe thunderstorm watch. Now, the National Weather Service, which happens to be just south of town out by the airport in Boise, they're on a watch. In other words, they're looking at this saying, hey, thunderstorms could pop up just about anywhere in this pink area, which is just about from the border here of Nevada all the way up to western Montana, which includes the Salmon area. Not north of Sun Valley so much now. They just took that one off. But you can see the trend of all of these thunderstorms that are moving through the area. Now, earlier this evening, we had about 7 severe thunderstorm warnings, not watches. The watch is in pink. The warning is this little brown box that you see along through here. Now, this is close to Glenn's Ferry. That's starting to move in at this particular time. And some of these storms this afternoon, we're still waiting on reports, but some of the storms have had winds that have gusted up to as much as 50, 60 miles an hour. We've even heard of, again, a term ping pong sized hail. That can be dangerous because that could actually crack windshields on cars and do some different things like that. So hopefully it's not providing too many problems with some of these storms moving through. But we had a large one, which was around just east of Boise out toward Lucky Peak Reservoir, and now that's moved to the north. That was a severe thunderstorm warning earlier. And you can see to our south, we still have a few more, but they're crossing east on the freeway between Boise as well as Mountain Home and down toward Twin Falls. If we have any more information on this, of course, we'll be providing you with the latest coming up at 6 o'clock. But let's see what trouble Joe can get into right now.
All right. Yes, Rick, we got a full 208. So we're ready to go. Rick has set the stage here. Let's get into some trouble. Well, a few weeks back, we told you about Idaho's surplus, the budget surplus, more than $1 billion. And there are different ways that you can look at a surplus. Critics will say that it shows that more investments could and should be made into crucial areas. Others feel that the surplus really reflects responsible spending for the government and an incredible return in recent years. No matter how you feel, though, we have a big update for you. This morning, I spoke with Alex Adams. He's the state budget director. Here's what he has to say about the budget.
Surplus is now $2 billion.
Wow.
We have $1.4 billion in the bank, but the surplus is now projected to be $2 billion. And that's because we released the new forecast for the fiscal year that we're in. So the fiscal year goes July 1 through June 30th. If we hit all of the monthly revenue targets for that new revenue forecast, we would have a $2 billion surplus at the end of the fiscal year. $1.4 billion is in the bank, but there's prospects of it growing if we hit our metrics.
Is that a record?
It is, yeah. So it would be a record surplus.
So we'll keep our eye on that, and the surplus will be an interesting topic for us to follow as the state legislature starts up again early next year. Of course, more money, more options for investments. It also means there's more debates over how you can use that money. One thought to share, though, with you from Alex Adams. Adams says that as economy experts fear an economic downturn in the coming months, having a major surplus is very good news for Idaho, again, to the tune of $2 billion. We're 88 days out from the November general election here in the state of Idaho, and ahead of that, we're already seeing questions about Election Day, which is great. We love you getting involved. So, a viewer called and left us a voicemail. Let's take a listen to their question. We'll answer it.
This is a question about the story on the Idaho Department of Transportation building being closed down. My question is, this fall is an election year, and that's been a polling place for a long time. Do you think you guys could find out where we will be going to vote, us in that area, so we don't have to play scavenger hunt for the polling place this fall? Thank you.
So yes, we do want everyone to know where they're going to vote. And that location on State Street, which we told you earlier this week, is closing. A lot of people familiar with it. So I reached out to Ada County Clerk Phil McGrain to ask him about the site. He tells me this. He says, it's too early to tell for sure exactly what will happen there, but if the county can really make sure that they can use that polling site, and they're allowed to, depending on what the future use of that building is, they will certainly do that. Now, each election, Ada County Elections, has to adjust some polling locations because of scenarios like this. And polling locations will be adjusted as needed, and the elections office always notifies every registered voter in a precinct where they're going to get a change. And you'll get something in the mail, so make sure to keep your eyes open. Now, McGrain tells me that hopefully wherever is going to happen at that new location on State Street, we're unsure what it's going to become, they're hoping to keep it a polling location, but we will keep you posted and keep an eye on your mail as well as we get closer to Election Day. Well, one of the unofficial signs that summer is coming to an end here in the Treasure Valley, the seasonal drawdown at Lucky Peak, and it starts this weekend. Here's what we can tell you. On Sunday, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Bureau of Reclamation, they're going to gradually lower the pool elevation at Lucky Peak Reservoir to its winter levels. What does this mean? Well, the lake will drop to 3 feet per day. So as those water levels decrease, be very careful because boat ramps, they will be impacted. And if you're planning on boating at Lucky Peak anytime in the next few weeks, be very careful. As we saw just last year, it is really easy for a boat to become stranded in the water as those levels lower down. So keep an eye out there and sure, have fun out there, but make sure you don't leave your boat because it may be stuck for the winter if you don't take care of it. Busy week here in the 208, and we want to talk about some of the stories that you at home are talking about the most online and with us here at Channel 7. So let's recap some of what happened here on the 208. And I want to start back on Tuesday. You may remember that during the last legislative session, Idaho lawmakers voted to cut about $4 million from the Commission for Idaho Libraries budget for the year. This after a false red flag was raised by lawmakers about pornography being in libraries. That narrative is still being passed around and debated in communities. Now sights are set on the Meridian Library District by a far-right group called the Liberty Dogs. They put out a flyer with a list of books that they say are supposedly indoctrinating children. But 4 of the 5 books, some of which are about the LGBTQ community, they are not in the children's section at all. The only book that is in the children's section, Captain Underpants.
A little disappointing and shocking that this small but vocal group wants to take such a tremendous asset away from this community. I find it nonsensical. Yes, there are materials in the library that have LGBTQ content because we're responding to what our community is interested in. Not every community member, but certainly our community is interested in a diverse and inclusive collection, and we provide that here at the library.
So the Meridian Library says that they, like most public libraries, have a very specific policy on approving books into their collection. And anyone can challenge a book, to be clear here. Now, if that happens, the library goes back to their policy and reevaluates if the book still fits their criteria. and that includes providing content for underrepresented groups, being accurate, and having an actual demand from community members. There's a board meeting on Wednesday, and it is open to the public, and the board says they expect people against these book titles to be in attendance that night. We'll keep you updated. Also on Tuesday, one of the most commented stories of the week, and it started out as a personal observation for Brian Holmes. There's an intersection that he drives through almost daily, and lately he's noticed more drivers are starting to disregard the left turn signal, and they're just running a red light and gumming up the entire intersection for everybody else. It's all a ricochet. So with that desire for a less congested ride to work, Brian and our photographer, Kevin Esslinger, they went out to the intersection and they did some research. Then they brought it to the Boise Police and the Ada County Highway District, and even they were surprised with what Brian and Kevin brought them.
State Street, one of the Treasure Valley's major automobile arteries. Tens of thousands of cars use this corridor commercially or to commute every day. And depending on the time of day, it may seem like they're all driving in the same direction at the same time as you. Timing is something we noticed, and many others didn't, where Glenwood runs into State Street. Ada County Highway District says this intersection sees 20,000 cars a day. But we were only interested in the hundreds, making a left turn from State onto Glenwood. They could have been running behind.
See the light turns red, and then I look for the stop line.
But they were definitely running a red light.
And once the vehicle passes the stop line after the light is turned red, that's an obvious violation.
Sergeant Matt Konvalinka with Boise Police says complaints about speeding, aggressive driving, and running red lights are common.
Do you get complaints about this intersection specifically?
I have had complaints about this intersection. You get those heavy traffic times. It's not uncommon to see it at all of our intersections.
But what if it's during lighter traffic times, what's supposed to be off-peak hours? On a Friday morning between 10 and 11, we noticed a lot of left-turn red light runners. We synced up the video we shot, and we showed it to Sergeant Konvalinka to get his explanation of a violation.
When it's yellow, people are still entering, and once it turns red, see that that's kind of borderline.
So if you enter the intersection, you're okay in yellow?
If you're on the yellow, yes. Now, the yellow is supposed to give you enough time to slow down and stop.
But if you don't, and you roll past the stop line on a red light, that's a failure to obey a traffic control device.
Yellow.
A violation we saw a lot.
Now red. And so that black car, he should be stopped.
Well, it looked like, for me, that it turned red before, right as he was at the stop line, so he should have been able to stop.
Yeah.
And stopped in time.
But instead, he just rolls through.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't cops just camp out and write a bunch of tickets? Well, it's not always that easy.
I've got to see that light turn red, and I got the time between light turn red and look down at the stop line to see the vehicle pass the stop line. I have to testify to that in court.
Is this a timing thing, or is this a driver issue?
I think it's both. Granted, you shouldn't be entering the intersection or passing that stop line on the once the light is red. You shouldn't be entering that intersection. But in order to prevent accidents, I'd like to see the timing extended to give everybody a chance to clear the intersection before the other side turns green.
That timing is controlled by ACHD.
We've noticed that there are a few more red light runners throughout Ada County.
And they notice them as they happen on their 205 closed-circuit cameras.
Impatience, maybe? Over the past, I'll say, 2 to 3 years, is that a lot of drivers have become a lot less patient.
Mike Boydston has been the congestion management supervisor for 21 years. He says the State and Glenwood intersection has 5 to 6 different timing cycles based on the time of day. How long lights are green or red is affected by an algorithm, a formula formed by 1 week's worth of traffic. A cycle could take anywhere from 2 minutes to 2 minutes and 40 seconds. The more cars needing to go one direction, the longer the light is green. While we were there, it was on a 2-minute cycle.
And that westbound left turn gets 15 to 30 seconds of green time out of that cycle.
We counted about 20 seconds from going green and then back to red, with about 4 seconds of yellow in between.
And then we also put what we call an all red interval in there. So it's red for all movements at the intersection before the next conflicting green would be displayed.
However, here,
we saw this a few times.
The next green seems to be conflicting with those still rolling on red.
And that was a really bad one.
That one was pretty blatant, yes.
So it goes yellow, and then it's going to turn red, and then some people going this way are like, what?
Oh, yeah.
So having driven that myself, I see that more often than I would think. And I think this is a problem.
Yes, I mean, I've seen it, and we do, geez. Okay, that is more than I would have anticipated.
So when you see that, what does that tell you?
Maybe the timing does need to be adjusted again.
Something ACHD tries to do every 5 to 7 years.
Do you think that's a timing issue or is that a driver issue?
I think it's a combination, honestly. And that can be a problem for everybody that uses the roadways.
Mike says the solution may be as simple as adjusting that red light interval, giving cars more time to clear the intersection.
But it might be something where just another half second could make everything a little bit safer. That might steal a little bit of green time from everybody, but it would be safer.
Sergeant Konvalinka agrees. It might be easier to stall the starts than stop the runners.
People will still run the red light, but at least it will prevent an accident, which is what we really want to do. We want to stop the accidents.
So there you have it, if you ever wondered how it worked. The ultimate goal is to prevent accidents and keep the streets safe. And Boise Police told us so far this year, from January to June, they issued 60 red light citations across the city. Also at this intersection, over the sample period of time, BPD responded to 135 traffic-related issues, 26 of them crashes, making State and Glenwood 8th on the list of intersections with the most crashes this year in our area. So the day after Brian and Kevin spoke with Boise Police and ACHD did adjust the timing of that cycle, increasing it from 120 seconds to 130 seconds. And they added a half second to that red light interval when all the lights are red in every direction to allow cars to clear the intersection. So if they fixed the problem, why run the story? Well, because like we learned in our discussion with ACHD, sometimes to solve a problem, all you have to do is bring it to someone's attention. So if you notice a problem, report it to ACHD. They want you to do this so that they can fix the problems. And as we mentioned, we got several messages about specific intersections, but there was one common question. Pat asks, how do you contact traffic problems in Canyon County? Roy says, if I'm stopped at a traffic light in Nampa, is Nampa responsible for setting traffic lights, or is Canyon County or ITD? A lot of questions about area outside of Ada County. So unlike Ada County, Canyon County actually has 4 different highway districts. There's the Nampa Highway District, and we're going to show you this at the bottom of your screen here. There's the Nampa Highway District there at the bottom. The Canyon Highway District is in purple. The Golden Gate Highway District is in blue, and the Notice Parma Highway District is at the very top of your screen. And those little parts in gray, those are maintained by the cities themselves, so there is some in between there. Now, each entity is responsible for maintaining roadways, signs, bridges, and culverts. However, highway districts and cities do not maintain state highways. That is left up to the Idaho Transportation Department. And finally, this story yesterday, it generated hundreds and hundreds of comments over on our Facebook page. As of right now, the Boise Police Department is short 32 police officers. They need help. So, to help fill those positions with qualified candidates, Boise Police is changing their hiring standards for officers so that they can get more people involved.
There's a lot of challenges and a lot of competition for talented people. That shortage is not only based on people who have retired or left the profession, but also it's signs of a growing city and recognition of the fact that Boise is one of the fastest growing cities in our nation.
So how exactly will that work? Recruits will actually no longer need an associate's or bachelor degree to be considered to work for Boise Police. They just need a high school diploma or a GED. So instead of education being a barrier to becoming an officer, Boise Police says they will partner with the College of Western Idaho in Nampa. They actually already work with police departments across the Treasure Valley. And through a form called a Profession Learning Assessment, Boise police officers will learn college credit for completing the police academy.
We've provided the curriculum of the police academy to CWI, and they've looked at and taken the experiential learning that occurs during the police academy and correlated that to what they determined to be a sufficient amount of college units for the learning that took place during the academy.
It's the same thing if you went in and you joined our law program here and you were in that law program for 8 months, you're going to get those same credits.
Boise police believe shifting their focus will have success. After all, Officer Brooks, who you saw there, was actually a high school dropout. He told us that the first police department he ever worked at only required a high school diploma or GED. In his 27 years in the business, he has since gone on to earn his bachelor's and master's degrees. It's a bittersweet day over at the Boise Police Department. We have some news for you. Clover, the wellness canine who came to visit the 208 a few months ago, we learned today that she's going to take a break from Boise Police, and it's for her mental health. In a statement posted on Clover's Instagram this morning, the Boise Police Department says that the decision was made by her handler in the department to allow her to take a break from official duties for her own wellness due to some lingering anxiety and stress, likely, they say, from her past abuses before she was adopted into Boise Police. And Clover was adopted by BPD last fall from the Idaho Humane Society. She was actually brought into the shelter there, underweight, depressed, and lethargic. With training and lots of love, though, she was officially brought on for her position as an outreach canine. Her job, to be an emotional support dog for not only members of the community, but Boise police officers as well. And Boise Police says that this is a great reminder that wellness is not always a direct path and that you need to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. So Clover, we really appreciate you sending this message to us. We hope you're taking care of yourself. And Clover, we love you so much. We hope to see you soon. All right, friends, we're going to wrap this baby up, but I want to remind you that if you ever want to connect with us, read more, give us a story idea, complain about something, here's where to do it. Facebook, Instagram, email, YouTube. You can also call, as you heard earlier in the show. We love your voicemail, so keep them coming. Let's get to some of your comments, though, for today. We're going to have this one first from Carrie. From Carrie. They say that the 208 is awesome and unbiased and not afraid to take the heat of individuals who don't necessarily agree. Keep it up. Thank you. Yes, we're here to help. Despite your opinions, we're right down the middle. Danny says, I live in the Collister neighborhood and my family frequents State and Glenwood. A green light to turn south onto Glenwood off of State will at times only let 3 cars go through legally. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of your comments about these problems at some of these intersections around town. ACHD wants to correct this. They want to make sure everyone's driving safely out there, so let them know if you have any problems. And finally, I think we have another one here. Yeah, Jerry says in regards to running the red lights, people just need to slow down. They do. And while we're on this topic, I just want to give a PSA real quickly. If you see an emergency vehicle with their lights on behind you, get out of the way. I was driving down Fairview today and I watched an ambulance try to make it through traffic. Get out of the way. They have somewhere to go. Anyways, end of the rant. Everybody have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday.